Imagine, Mr. Bean and capitalism had a child, and that child grew up to be an internet televangelist for a new faith called the Church of the Sigma Grind Set, and he infected every social media timeline on the little rectangle in your pocket with coked out elevator pitches for toxic hustle culture multiple times per day. That is Gary Vee. Your brokest mate loves him. Pop shields hate him.
Coffee cup, pay attention.
We complain.
When we drop, people just want to complain. People love to complain.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. I just gave myself hiccups.
Basically, I want you to eat shit. Eating shit. Eating shit is something I do every day. Eating shit. Eating shit. Eating shit.
Born Gennady Vaynerchuk in Belarus at the humble age of 0, 3 years into his life, his family emigrated to the US and moved into New Jersey, where he says he first made his money ripping the flowers out of his neighbours' yards, ringing their doorbells and selling them back to them at the doorstep.
I went into people's yards, I ripped their flowers out of their yard, I rang their doorbell, and I sold it back to them.
Now, some of you watching may think that this is called being an asshole, but no, my little beta cooks. This is the early signs of pure, hardworking, entrepreneurial CEO spirit. The market is the market is the market. You need a trigger warning for the free market. He says he then began making thousands of dollars per week selling baseball cards at the mall in his early teens.
My dad then ruined my life when I was 14, he dragged me into the liquor store and paid me $2 an hour to bag ice for 15 hours a day.
Now, you may be thinking that this is child exploitation, but no, my delicate little snowflakes. This is called having a hustler mentality. In 1996, in his freshman year of college, Gary discovered the internet and did what every other 18-year-old boy who had just discovered the internet did straight away. He lubed up his entrepreneurial chops and learned how to use Google AdWords and took his father's business online to sell more of Daddy's fancy grape juice. Gary had launched one of the first ever e-commerce wine sites, which eventually helped his father's business grow from being worth $3 million to $60 million.
That was bad. What's next?
WineLibrary.com. Tasting bad wines so you don't have to.
Gary began polishing his bullshit skills early on by asserting himself as a wine critic on a little website that you may have heard of called www.youtube.com in 2006.
I'm Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'm Director of Operations and co-owner of Wine Library and host of Wine Library TV.
Back in the innocent days of the information superhighways youth, he had created his own channel under the name of his father's wine company, Wine Library TV.
Really, the only thing I can say is a blend of chemicals that you definitely may not wake up from. Sniffy sniff time! Take a plum, wrap bacon around it, put it in the microwave, and let it go for 5 minutes. Let the plum explode, maybe not. Take it out with a rubber glove because you don't want to burn your hand. Slap on some serious black pepper, take a couple of pieces of asparagus, and bite it. That's what this wine tastes like.
Pulling the grapes right from the vineyard.
This is pretty darn delicious. A really nice pairing.
And would attract comments such as,
"Will he please take a chill pill? This guy is annoying. Who is this man? He is really annoying."
You can call me anything you want. Heck, I know I'm over the top. I know some people might think I'm obnoxious.
sometimes bringing on guests from the traditional sommelier world to join him.
Everybody, and welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Eventually, he built an audience on the backs of people who enjoyed his fresh take on the usual wine tasting bullshit. Following Gary's foray into this whole new flavor of wine tasting bullshit.
I really like White Castle sliders, and I think that if I can't eat another one, I'll whip out a bottle of sherry, drink it, and then eat another 30 or 40.
What's that?
Sliders, very small hamburger type.
Oh.
characters. It's not like a bee in a bonnet, but they're still fun. All right, so let's give this a sniffy sniff.
Which even led him to appearances on The Ellen Show and Conan O'Brien.
Now, I think what you're going to find out is,
It's good. It did change the taste of the wine.
of course, there's sugar.
There's corn in it now.
It's a totally different vino. Totally. Let's move on.
At one point, he even rejected some TV producers who offered him a wine tasting show on mainstream media, believing that the internet was the future.
I was approached by 2 different networks. They had 2 different styles. One was a talk show based style. One was a travel concept. Neither one really fit. I just don't believe in TV as the future media of the world. You know, video blogging is the way to go. The world's changing, and I want to be on that, on that train, let's say.
In 2008, Gary was invited to make a keynote speech, which led to a $1 million book deal.
And that's what I want to talk about today. PP.
Crush It became an international bestseller, and he would use some of the money that he made from this to invest in tech startups for some shitty little apps that you've probably never heard of before, like Facebook and Twitter.
Consider the site the 21st century version of the old paper-bound yearbook. Now, millions of students use the Facebook.com to list not only their pictures and hobbies, but as a virtual community.
So we can blame Gary Vee for the increase in dissociative disorders in younger generations and quite possibly the complete downfall of democracy? Perhaps?
I'm making meats now, smoking these meats here.
Gary ended up leaving Wine Library for his father to run, and in 2009 incorporated his own marketing agency with his brother AJ instead, called Vaynermedia. Their aim was to help other brands increase their image online, using the growth of Wine Library as a real-life example of what he was able to do in the digital age. Since then, he's grown Vaynermedia up to an 800-employee business and has been sticking his toes into other various ventures on the side. Gary's latest venture is in the world of NFTs. And I don't get NFTs, okay? You're paying thousands and sometimes millions for a fucking JPEG. What is the point?
FBI, open up!
It looks like he's drawn them in less than a minute whilst playing Pictionary on crack. The only thing this sperm whale is serious about is saving up for orthodontic treatment. Clever crocodile. Motherfucker only has 2 legs. How did he lose the other 2? He's a fucking crocodile. What's this gorilla got gratitude for? He hasn't any shins. The only thing this squid is sympathetic to is himself for having a bell end for a head. The only thing this rhinoceros is reflecting on is a time when he did not exist before Gary Vee fucking drew him.
Kill me. Kill me now.
In more recent years, Gary has increasingly imposed himself on the motivational speaker space and has turned himself into a sort of walking content farm. And he seems to have an intern with a smartphone and a library of royalty-free inspirational piano music following him around now wherever he goes. So every single nugget of Gary Vee wisdom manages to plop its way into the toilet bowl of social media. And his style is, say something about working hard and being grateful, but be very vague and throw in a completely insane curveball every now and again to completely throw people off track. Something that literally makes him sound like he needs multiple therapists and an intervention.
I'm gonna rip your fucking faces off. Like, I wanna slice throats.
25, and I'm like, man, I've really been here like...
Bro, I'd rip both my legs off and arms to be 25. 400 trillion to 1, the odds of being a human being. Your dad might have decided to jerk off one more time the day before.
Right.
And we wouldn't be here.
Damn. Yeah, no, it's real. It's a real statistic if you think about cum.
It's all a little bit like this. I've got some savings and I was just wondering whether to put them in Bitcoin or NFT. Think about this. Your odds of existing are 400 trillion to 1. Think about your dad's dick for a second. I don't want to do that. Think about your dad's fucking dick. Think about the amount of times you could have ended up on your dad's fucking chest. Okay? I don't want to do that. You were the one who swam into your mother's vagina.
Please.
Do you have fucking gratitude now?
That was bad.
And this is the work that most of you may be most familiar with, having gone a little bit viral in recent months with his pretty controversial takes, which we will get into.
You know what I think is a better advantage than being born into something? Being born into nothing.
So all of this bullshit may lead you to believe that he's a Tony Robbins or Tai Lopez character, using all of this as a vehicle to push a multi-$1,000 course or seminar, which he is doing. He's actually a bit more interesting than that, in the way that he sort of skirts the fake guru label by not directly and aggressively pushing a course or event, but still manages to make a lot of money out of doing this whole motivation shtick through a lot of separate revenue streams. And he's very self-conscious about being seen as one of these bad guys.
And then he was like, so what were the... You were filming at my events. What were the crowd saying when I was on stage? You don't think I'm one of them guys, do you? Do you think I give value? He was proper really like nervous. It was quite funny.
All my engagement, all my selfies right over there and signing books, all the content, I have nothing to sell. I have a book that I fucking sell once every 3 years for $13. I want you to win, and I want to give you the advice for free, over and over and over again, like I've been doing for the last decade.
So, how does Gary make his money?
You have shit around your house. 24 months of eating shit. Passionate about really focusing on eating shit.
Gary's $200,000 investment in Facebook back in 2009 alone has probably made him around $12 million. This and his early investments in Twitter, Snapchat and Tumblr made him a pretty penny and have given him excellent footing in the world of Gen Z marketing. And this is something that he never fails to mention along with his 800-employee marketing agency, Vaynermedia. He's also predicted in the past Facebook buying Instagram and Joe Rogan's move to Spotify.
I am predicting that Facebook acquires Instagram. You know, I believe Joe Rogan is going to eventually sign a $100 million plus deal to go exclusive on a platform.
So through this, he's sort of positioned himself as a business guru for any young entrepreneur who needs motivation and advice. He has a regular show called Ask Gary Vee, in which he will answer questions submitted on social media or via his office speakerphone, and people flock to his keynote speeches and will spit green out of their noses for VIP tickets just for the chance to ask him a burning question or pitch him a business idea.
And I was talking to a few people in reception, and they had paid $15,000 to have a meeting with him, a 10-minute meeting.
Wow, 10 minutes?
Yeah. I'll tell you this experience now. I've never spoke about this.
What do you think?
This is an incredible week.
So Gary seems to have been able to sell himself as a sort of business savant. He still invests in a lot of small tech startups on the side, specifically mobile apps. And he does this a lot. I don't know how many companies he has invested in, or how many he still has money in, or how many of these he's since exited. But throughout my research for this video, I managed to make a list of 108 companies that Gary had put money into starting up. And I'd only heard of 18 of them, but that's not to say that the rest of them are duds. They could be huge in the future, or they could equally fail. They're actually more likely to fail, looking at the survival rates of new tech startups. There's also a ton of huge apps that Gary's missed out on, such as Uber, Tinder, Bumble, Airbnb, Twitch, and TikTok.
I passed on Uber twice. Had I wrote a $25,000 check into that company like I did the other companies, it'd be worth $300 million. And I'm glad the market punched me in my mouth. I deserve it. I'm driven by it. I'm hungrier. Got it?
But he's investing in a lot of startups still, clearly looking for his next unicorn. He's waiting for that next Facebook or Twitter to get him that multi-million-dollar payout. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what angel investors generally do. They hedge their bets across a wide spectrum of companies, and they make many highly risky investments in small startups in the hope of finding that one unicorn. But he also very likely gets a great deal on all of the investments that he makes, simply due to who he is now. So when trying to get funding for your small tech startup, there's something called smart money. So smart money is when, along with the money you get from an investor, you also get connections and knowledge. So startups give them more equity than they usually would in exchange for all of these perks. And many startups probably do give him pretty hefty chunks of their companies because he basically serves as a marketing machine. And by that, I mean tech publications will write articles whenever Gary invests in something because he's a well-known name, and sometimes he'll even mention your startup on social media or on his blog, or if you're very lucky, on late night TV.
So what the app does is it allows you to take a picture of the label, and within a second, get the information of what the wine is.
Which puts you in a great footing when you get to the venture capital funding stage.
Faithbox, I'm an early angel investor, true angel investor in both Birchbox and Barkbox, and believe in the box of the month business model. This is Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'm a Birchbox man.
So Gary's positioning of himself as this sort of gateway to Gen Z also sets him up with other lucrative opportunities, such as being an advisor on company boards in exchange for company equity.
He's supported by various billionaires, from what I understand, who invest in his business and keep it going. But then what's it good for? Well, these billionaires own valuable consumer brands that we know of every single day. And because Gary Vee has so captivated the Gen Z audience with this vision of, if you just hustle and grind and execute, you're gonna be rich. And the Gen Z people love him. He gets millions of followers on every platform. They literally love what he's saying. Even though it might not mean it, he's selling this dream. So brands then hire him, and billionaires who own these brands support his business and keep it alive, because now they have this direct voice to hit the Gen Z audience.
But he's not exactly the minority report of the market or anything. I mean, he invested in Jake fucking Paul early on, so you can partly blame Gary Vee for that shit show as well. He also invested in an app called After School, which was like Yik Yak, if you know what Yik Yak was, but for even younger school students, elementary school students. It promptly failed after getting a lot of bad press.
There's a chance your children know about it, and they might be using it.
So he's not some kind of market genius, but he is a pretty good businessman in his own field with, in my opinion, a lot of early look, and buckets of personality. And it's those buckets of personality that help him out the most. Yes, he's made a couple of predictions that have turned out to be true, but he also makes a lot of predictions. For example, here's some predictions which I sincerely fucking hope never make it into the real world and remain in Gary's head.
If I woke up tomorrow and found out that Snapchat was coming out with sneakers, I'd be like, hey girl, I sent my dick to your trainers. Please respond. So our phones are smart, right?
Right.
But what happens when your belt is smart?
Ooh.
And now all of a sudden you go to order a Big Mac and you try to pay with your phone, but your belt's talking to your phone, and when you go to pay, it declines and it looks at you and says, order a salad, fat ass. And then virtual reality porn is gonna be interesting.
And if you ever go over your weekly porn quota, a knife immediately comes out of the headset and chops your dick into tiny little pieces.
Or what about when your refrigerator reorders another case of Budweiser because it understands how often you drink it? And so you're down to 2. It knows that you're gonna drink 2 tonight because that's your average. And as soon as you get home that night and open and grab the first one, it's already reordering it for you.
So your refrigerator becomes an enabler.
I'm not gonna lie, I kinda like that one. But switch out the Bud for a wanky craft beer, please.
Here's your order of Deirdre's handcrafted stout matured in a barrel infused with dirt from the forest floor, you fucking wanker.
Whoa! And part of Gary's marketing is this story that he's made for himself. So every time he's interviewed, he always ensures to relay his life story and how his hustle hard attitude has got him to where he is today. And he always makes sure to mention that his plan is to one day buy the New York Jets.
My mom made me a sweater. when I was 5 years old because everybody outside was playing football when we moved to Edison, New Jersey. And I wanted a Jets jersey like everybody else had because I'd just become a Jets fan. And we didn't have the money, or my parents didn't want to spend $25 on a Jets jersey that I was gonna outgrow in 2 minutes. So my mom spent the next couple of weeks knitting me a sweater. I am going to buy the New York Jets. I want to buy the New York Jets, right? So I want to buy the New York Jets. Let's take a step back.
Okay, you do?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
And I'm going to.
So he says that his plan is to buy them in about 20 years from now, but he likes to brag that he could buy them tomorrow if he wanted to.
There's a lot of things I can do if tomorrow it has to happen. Call in all those favors, cash in all those chips, sell all the, my company just did a huge transaction that valued the company at a $400 million valuation. That puts my net worth at $200 million of what I own of that. I've got all this paper money on Facebook. I can cash it all in. It's on the stock market. I've got private money in Uber and other things that I can convert to somebody else. I've got pieces.
But selling a marketing agency which completely relies on your personal brand, I'm not sure it would get that much without Gary there himself. The Jets are worth $4 billion now. And for as long as Gary's been saying that he wants to buy the Jets, the price of the Jets has been increasing exponentially, a little faster than his personal wealth. I mean, perhaps he will make it one day, or maybe he'll be 89. I could buy the Jets tomorrow if I wanted to. All I'd have to do is win the bingo a few more times at the Village Fete. We'll be all good. All right, Grandad V, time for your meds. But all of these things, he says, works, and some people are literally willing to pay over £15,000 for a 10-minute meeting with him, which, if you ask me, is an insane waste of money.
He's positioned himself as a go-to guy, and that's why he's on TikTok. They're paying to pitch to him. Then he would say in that room, if you've got a good business idea, he'll say, I really like that, I want to invest. So Gary's then really using the money that you've spent
to invest.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm going to give you your money back, but I'm going to take a chunk of your company. Or your business is rubbish, Gary's not interested, and then he just has a picture with you. You're happy because you're on his social media, and he's got $15,000. He's not bothered.
Hot dogs are the backbone of America. Florida is the tail. Guns are the elbow.
Hey, Cat, what are you watching? Oh, I can't watch new episodes of John Oliver's Last Week Tonight here in the UK because it's blocked in this country. So what I had to do was download the scripts of all previous episodes, feed them all into an AI bot, and then ask it to write a new episode for me. Didn't you know that you could just download Atlas VPN? Atlas VPN is a tool that encrypts your data and hides your virtual location.
Joe Biden is not awake anymore. Sexy raccoons are in Congress. Capitalism is the new president.
Well, how would that help me? Well, when you connect to a VPN server, your device is given a new IP and a new DNS address. All of the traffic is encrypted and routed towards the VPN server. When the traffic arrives at the server, the VPN server decrypts the information and allows the traffic to access the desired destination, thus giving access to media and websites of the selected location. Okay. Wow, now I can watch Last Week Tonight for real! And it's supported on any device. Well, why didn't you tell me that before I wasted 3,000 hours learning how to code? Well, currently Atlas VPN is running a huge discount on their 3-year deal. Just $1.39 per month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. $1.39 per month. Wow. The deal won't last for long though, so make sure to check it out by clicking the link in the video description below.
I just eat shit constantly, which is really my definition of eating shit. I'm eating shit. How about eating shit instead?
So what are Gary's main teachings? Well, it's basically this. If you're willing to work extremely hard, you'll make it.
I punted every leisure activity in my life. Nothing. No weekends. No vacations, zero, nothing. I didn't take a single vacation day, none, zero. All my high school friends, gone, because I wasn't around. All my college friends, post-college, gone. I'd see them a little bit. I love those guys, but gone. Girlfriends, nothing. All in. I think that anybody who's got a bigger platform than me, who's willing to bleed out of their eyeballs for their community, will beat me. Anybody who's smaller won't, because I'm just gonna outwork everybody.
Please subscribe. Please. I have to beat Gary. But don't bother complaining. no one cares. If you're happy not working that much, that's fine. But then you need to be happy with not making it, which basically means being poor. If you don't want to work that much, just shut up and stop complaining, bitch. And if you don't have money, you do have time, apparently, but you choose to sit there watching 11 episodes of the Kardashians.
When you don't have money, you have time. That's why, Andrew, that's what I went back to. Like, please don't watch 11 episodes of the Kardashians on Saturday afternoon.
How much time did you have for yourself on Saturday and Sunday that was not working every minute? Tell me the truth.
A lot.
You spent more downtime on not your career this weekend than I did in my entire 20s combined.
Oh shit, okay. So in less than 8 years, when I'm a millionaire by 25, I'll come shake your hand.
I promise you that statement itself made me 100% guarantee that you won't.
No.
Yeah.
Sure.
I fucking worked every minute of my life.
Sure, but there's people out there, Gary, that don't necessarily subscribe to that, right? That
They're
don't
gonna lose.
necessarily think
They're gonna lose.
that's not the way.
I don't give a fuck about them. They're gonna lose. Remember when we graduated college and you went to the Jersey Shore every weekend and hooked up with chicks and drank beer? I worked.
You can't because you want to be on the bowling team or softball or play video games. That's why you can't. There's plenty of time. Get shit done.
I'm rich.
No teachers out there who have to do marking when they get home and look after kids and all sorts. No, that broke teacher is broke because she's watching the Kardashians. Damn, it's just so simple. And he even thinks that having adversity in any way, being an immigrant or being black or being poor, is in some backwards way a privilege.
If you're complaining, do something about it. I don't know if anybody knows, but slavery's been gone for a while. Your boss might be the biggest jerk of all time, but guess what? You can go get another job. I'm writing a book right now. I have 3 or 4 books that I'm writing in my head, that's how I write them, called I Wish Everybody Was an Immigrant. It's a huge advantage.
Being a minority, being an underdog is an advantage. I can't not believe that. Cliche stuff, that the hate and the negativity that people are pushing. Still, if you go out and execute and win, America's like, you're a winner. It's really, it's capitalism.
The quickest tell that somebody's a loser is complaining. Something really bad happened to you as a kid because the neighbor's a weird dude? The market doesn't care.
I think it's so good in America that most people are soft. Anybody that thinks the president of the United States, whether it's Barack or Donald or Bernie or Hillary, is gonna help them, they're a fucking loser. Being an African American in America immediately defaults you into not being soft, and you're still gonna be profiled and judged. It's just true. And I think that's an advantage in the way the world's going now, because the world's playing out on the internet where the internet doesn't judge that.
It's easier. You know why? Because the old white dude doesn't control no more. The internet fixed racism. Internet doesn't give a if you're black, white, transgender from Mars. It's a market.
Right, okay then. So explain how Charli D'Amelio and Addison Rae, the famous Trump handshaker, got so famous performing black people's dances without credit. Oh, and explain this.
Well, if I go into the creator marketplace and I put supporting white supremacy and I hit accept, it's okay, and it lets me have my asking rate at $500. White supremacy. But God forbid, let me put Black Lives Matter on there. Watch, it says it's a threat. Boom, inappropriate content. Can't say that. I cannot say black people.
But how can Gary really say this at all when he's never truly come from any sort of adversity himself? Yes, he's an immigrant, but an extremely fortunate immigrant whose father managed to give him a huge leg up into the world of business. I'm not saying Gary isn't talented, obviously he is, but he literally never, ever admits that his father gave him a massive leg up.
You know what I think is a better advantage than being born into something? Being born into nothing. I'm on the record. Remember I said it. Can't wait to watch it in 20 years. The internet the way it is today, I'd rather have 0 than 100 million. People that have 0 are like, this guy's an idiot. That's because you don't talk to trust fund babies. I do. I talk to trust fund babies. They DM me. I meet them in real life because of my business career. They're sad. Do you know what it's like to talk to a human being that looks at you at 22 years old and says, no matter what I do for the next 80 years, it will never be my own accomplishment. Everybody will always say I was handed it and I'm done. Do you know what kind of level of depression, cocaine, and partying until you die that leads to? A lot.
That was bad.
every time I click my fingers, another trust fund baby does a line of cocaine and is a bit sad. Please donate today to the Trust Fund Baby Fund so that one day no more trust fund babies will have to be a bit sad because Daddy was too successful. The Trust Fund Baby Fund, because there's nothing worse than Tarquin feeling a bit aimless. His philosophy is he'd rather be happy and broke than rich and sad, but he never admits that many problems come from financial problems, but he's never experienced that himself. He'll say that he had to start Vaynermedia out of somebody else's office.
I love when people are like, well, don't listen to him. He was given $3 million or given us. I wasn't. I built a business from $3 to $60 million. Left at 34 years old, owning none of it. I didn't even get our own office because I wanted to save money.
He's never had to worry about paying rent or paying bills. That's true adversity. But if this content gives people hope, is it a bad thing? And another key message is to have gratitude, even if that involves giving yourself disturbing, intrusive thoughts every day in the shower.
My family.
Good. Who in your family? Pick one.
All of them.
You're very politically correct. Cool. Every day, literally once a day, genuinely sit there for 5 minutes and make pretend one of them got shot in the face. I probably once a week to 4 times a week sit there truly in the shower and truly try to convince myself that I have lost one of the 5 most important people in my life.
Because it seems that if you've never had any true adversity in your life, then the trick is to artificially give yourself some. You can tell he doesn't really know how to advise people sometimes from the way that he interacts with these people who ask him these questions. If he doesn't truly know how to answer, such as this lady who's attempting to ask him a question about growing her YouTube channel, he just interrupts her and goes off on a diatribe about enjoying the journey.
I just started up my YouTube, but I'm having a hard time staying consistent with building
Can I tell you what's holding
content.
you up?
Yeah.
If you're feeling any angst, it's because you don't love the process more than the results. You're thinking about $10,000 a month in AdSense instead of loving the fucking dirt.
Yeah, no shit, but I'm sure this lady had a burning question that she's paid thousands of dollars and waited hours in line to ask you, and now she's not even gonna get a proper answer because you just interrupted her and then went off on this tangent which was probably not useful to her. We can laugh or balk all we want, but it's these attention-grabbing statements that get Gary his clout in his keynote gigs. And his keynote gigs are one of the biggest, and I would say very likely his biggest source of income, bar his early successful investments, so he has to keep this clout going. One time he was invited to drop his motivational nuggets on the Hundum of the Beachbody MLM. And if you're new to the channel and you're not familiar with what an MLM is, they're basically the evil organizations that make all of the women who never moved out of your hometown start acting like this. Okay, I know she's your grandma and you're selling sex toys, but she might say yes. So I was waking up every morning feeling awfully sluggish, right? So I decided to do this thing called 30 Days to Healthy Living, right? And I discovered that if I cut out, hang on one second, red meat, white meat, seafood, gluten, dairy, eggs, nuts, and processed foods, then I'll be absolutely fine. No, it's got nothing to do with the wine. Do you want a cup of tea? It's okay, if this is a business meeting, then the tea bag will be a tax write-off anyway. No, you're not balding. Your hair follicles are regenerating themselves. Oh, have you ever heard of Rachel Hollis? Yeah, she's great. So relatable. No, you're not going into debt. Your bank account is just regenerating itself. Yeah, and then we all wear white at the party in the evening. Have I heard of the film Midsommar? No? It's not a no, it's a not now. Well, leave 63 messages on her voicemail then. Well, leave 64. Yeah, I'm my own boss now. There's a 7-page contract with rules that I have to strictly adhere to, but no, it really does work. Have you ever heard of the law of attraction? Have you ever heard of the term financially free? Am I financially free? Am I free of all finances? Yes. Yeah, I've got so much more time to spend with the kids now. Shut up! I'd say I'm only about 1 month away from the free car. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I'm a makeup artist now. So I'm going to draw you a diagram of everyone in my team and everyone in my downlines teams as well, okay? So there's me here, and then there's Stacy. No, corporations are pyramid schemes. Have you ever noticed how your boss earns more than you? Pyramid. 2 there and 1 there. So as you can see, anyway, how many motivational quotes have you posted on your Instagram today? Then post 7 more. Yeah, I've made so many friends since starting up with this. What? Sandy's left? That fucking bitch. Delete her off Facebook right now. Oh yeah, the shakes are lovely. 99.7% of people who attempt MLMs end up losing money. That money gets siphoned directly up to the top 0.3%. Gary is probably very aware of this, being an astute businessman, and here he is being paid probably around $200,000 for an hour speech to tell them all to hustle and grind and stop complaining.
So I've been doing some homework over the last 3 or 4 months, actually, following your social media presence. And the truth is, punchline is I think 95% of the people here are just not working hard enough. I think a lot of people like to cry about stuff. But instead of taking $1,000 of the $6,000 you've made doing this and buying Facebook ads with it and then making $12,000, you cried.
You should have taken $1,000 of that $6,000 you've made and advertised with it and made $20,000, but instead you cried. If you'd really done your research on Beachbody, Gary, you'd know that only 3.5% of the people in that room have even made $6,000. In fact, only 1 in 5 people in that room have even made the $1,000 that you're saying that they should be spending on Facebook advertising. And let me just clarify this. Before expenses, 99.7% of them will end up in the red. And it's nothing to do with hustle, Gary. It's basic maths and market demand. Something they're being encouraged not to think about. Gary also makes hefty sums of money to speak at events organized by a company called Success Resources, a company that Tony Robbins also regularly speaks for. Basically, Gary and Tony and a few other big names in this business are used as bait to get naive young entrepreneurs to drop hundreds of dollars on these events, which turn out to be a trap because you have to sit there through 8 hours of pitches from get-rich-quick gurus trying to get you to drop $1,997 on a bullshit course before Gary or whoever the main act is even comes on stage.
Apart from Russell Brand, Gary Vee, the rest was really actually quite sad to watch as people lined up to sign up to these courses to be millionaires.
Like, no question, the worst event I've ever been to.
We went to a Success Resource event actually.
Yeah.
You were one of the speakers there.
Yeah.
Before you turned up, people were like booing and also shouting the price out of what, because they all followed the same process. Oh, $1,997. People were shouting it out, crowd were booing. That woman in front of us got up and left. She hated it.
Do you know what the greatest sadness for me every day is? When some people see my content and they think my high energy means I'm one of those people. Has it been cool for you guys to figure out the difference between me and them? I'm for free, not telling them what they want to hear. Yeah. They're for money, telling them what they want to hear.
He believes his 30 minutes is so valuable, so pure, that somehow makes it all worthwhile.
If Gary gave 1 iota of a shit about the well-being of his fans, he would not go anywhere near this company. Now, while some positivity is good, it also helps to be fucking realistic. An MLM telling a room full of hopefuls that they're all gonna make it one day is completely unrealistic. And telling someone in a typical capitalist society that anyone can make it if they just hustle hard enough is also not realistic. And one workplace which personifies this toxic hustle worker exploitation culture is fucking Vaynermedia. Yes, Gary's own company has some of the worst Glassdoor reviews I've ever seen. Backstabbing culture. You're just another number to them. If you're looking to be undervalued and overworked, well then Vaynermedia is the place for you. Impossible deadlines and unrealistic expectations. Long work days and late nights with no compensation. People are afraid to speak about their burnouts, days in the hospital, or if they take medication because of stress.
I think it has a lot to do with many different things. First of all, anonymous websites. People that are willing to go to extremes when nobody can figure out who that person is. So anonymous leads to it.
No shit, Gary. You're perpetually surrounded by yes men because everybody's jobs around you rely on you. So you should probably really take these anonymous reviews on board. But he doesn't care that much because people will keep applying to work there anyway because he's Gary fucking Vaynerchuk. People think that he will look good on their CV, so he can work them to the bone while they're there, and then as soon as they burn out, he can just move on to the next inexperienced kid who doesn't realize what a normal, respectful workplace should be like.
So he's there like shouting, that email should have gone out yesterday, like shouting at his staff. They all look tired because they all work long hours. Yeah, they are burnt out there and they don't last long.
But it's all of this and the fact that he takes the money to speak at success resources events and MLM events that solidify my belief in the fact that Gary Vee only really truly cares about one person, and that's Gary Vee.
There's two ways to build the biggest building in town. You either just build the biggest building in town, or you spend all your time tearing everybody else's building down.
Really?
I hate Michael Jordan with my entire heart. And if there's anything on my last breath that I'm most proud of, is I'm out here just trying to build the biggest building. Fuck you if you bought Jordans. It would be the best if all 8 billion people had this mindset. You wouldn't have a single bad thing happen in society.
But you only think he's a piece of shit because he beat your team?
Yes.
That's it.
Isn't that more than a fucking enough? If you actually cared about everybody else and didn't impose your own hurt on someone else. Tom Brady, choke, would be phenomenally happy with that. People that tear everyone else's building down are hurting inside and want other people to feel pain. Misery loves company.
You just don't like that he's really good and he wins.
Correct.
That's so
At
weird.
the expense of my team.
He consistently tells us that our phones are only a mirror of who we truly are and we shouldn't worry about using social media more.
Twitter didn't change your opinions. Twitter allowed you to express them. We're demonizing technology. We're underestimating evolution of the human race, and that it's super cute that ideological people are imposing these wills with no substantial data of any sort or kind.
Political divides are only widening due to companies like Facebook literally profiting off our anger. And I suppose Gary Vee is also profiting off that anger. Facebook has this little fucking knob that they just turn to reduce hate and lower profits, or increase hate and increase profits. And which way does he turn that knob, Gary? Which way does your friend Zucky boy turn the fucking knob? But whose bottom line does it hurt if we all start using our phones and apps and social media less? Gary Vee's. And where do you think all of this technology will take us in the long run, Gary?
Oh, the end point is the robots kill us all.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I just eat shit constantly, which is really my definition of eating shit. I'm eating shit. How about eating shit instead?
But just think about the way in which he has become successful. He grew his father's company by personifying it through his personality. He started Vaynermedia and got large clients because he'd already got clout through being famous because of his personality. And then he made a few savvy investments from the money that he made through this, which made him even more money. And then he branded himself further and more aggressively through social media by marketing his personality through social media. But the only advice that he will give ultimately are actions that have worked for him, which basically comes down to this: brute force in terms of content and work ethic. Polluting the online space with content 24 hours per day. But that doesn't mean that that will work for everyone. Posting on every social media platform 10 times a day is not a recipe for success for everyone. I am one example of that. But nevertheless, his showcasing of his good communication skills and his positioning of himself as an entrepreneur's guru has got him countless keynote speeches, and this has got him more generous angel investor deals, and in turn, more business for Vaynermedia, and the cycle continues. But Gary Vee isn't successful because he hustled hard. Gary Vee is successful because he's Gary Vee. And not everyone is Gary Vee. And thank fuck for that. But this is why I call him the ultimate cheerleader for capitalism. I bet multi-billionaires fucking love this guy. Not because they follow his advice for motivation, because I can assure you they don't. But why? Because when all you're doing is either working or sitting at home not complaining, what are you not doing? Organizing, thinking, unionizing, attempting to improve society somewhat. What we should have a hustle culture for is getting the working class to advocate for their rights as workers, to improve social mobility. And I'll do that with swearing if that's what works for Gary. Fuck! Shit! Cock! Arse! Vote for the politicians fighting for your rights. Vote for the politicians that believe in science. Lead from your eyeballs with all your might. Rip off your arms and legs for the alliance. I want you to sit there in the shower every morning and imagine a billionaire shot directly in the face. Dystopian nightmare. Listening to Harper's hands and from yourself and redirect the blame. We're more than the ones who are able to play the game. Power, get the patriarchy pegged. United we bargain, divided we beg. Organize, can you unionize? Can you end the extraction of surplus labor value? I want you to sit there in the shower every morning and imagine a billionaire shot directly in the face. Dystopian nightmare. Listening to Harper's hands and from yourself and redirect the blame. We're more than the ones who are able to play the game. Majority rule. Unionization is sexy and cool. What's even better than tits and ass? Uplifting material conditions for the working class. Jason Silver, Jesse Jess, Queen, HTH, Zach Art, Larry Goodwin, Martin King, Steve Dorrance, Brett Andrews, Ian Hanks, Stephen, Voices v Salinas, my name is pronounced like Neve. GB, Keith Wood, Mo Khalifa, Jimmy Rudiger, Senor Brainwash, Scott Howard, Paul Willis Jr., Sam Murdoch, Zoe LaChance, Amanda Jones, Mitch, Monica Mean, Melissa Ferry, Milk Moonshine, Wildcat, Miss Chelius, 3 Minute Mile, Eva Kaniva, Elite Clean Feet, Endarina, Lola Bohemia, Cara Gonzalez, Sarah Marie, McGee, Ome Johnson, Laura Doherty, Quick Stepper, MJ, Avon Gale, Music is Magic, Alice, Submit of the New Westminster, Sean Mahoney, Nancy Kawita, Parisa, Marion Liu, Emily Reitzman German, Ashley Bird, Alex